Welcome to AgriTalk, and thank you for staying with Katie and Farmers TV. Today we are going to talk about urban farming, and with me in studio today we are with Samuel Kamau, who is an urban farmer. Welcome to the studio, Samuel.
Thank you very much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started all this.
Nice. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Samuel Kamau. I'm an urban farm. And I began this project around 4 years ago, farming 4 years ago. It has been an interesting journey, trying to research on more about trying to utilize the little space you can to try and use as much as you can to get the best product as you can for your own consumption at the same time. On my farm, usually I specialize on gourmet greens. So I try to, let's say an example for microgreens. Microgreens is a kind of classification of gourmet greens usually used for garnishing foods and salads in specification.
Do you grow them in this size of container?
Different kind of success. Okay, in container wise, it's all about your consumption. So let's say this is just for one individual. Maybe you want to use it for just for a minor salading or something, we just use a small container. But we also do have different sizes of containers considering on what you want to use them for. So for me, let's say for example, in my farm is called SM Growers. We deal with some few restaurants, so I have to have a bigger punnet where we can usually use them to grow, because the order, as long as the order is available, you have to have.
Okay. Before you continue, Samuel, let's look at a story that we had done earlier on urban farming or kitchen farming, as they want to put it. And then that will put into perspective exactly what we are going to discuss today.
Tucked in one of the corners are the grounds of the Ministry of Agriculture headquarters, Kilimo House in Nairobi, are 15 demo kitchen garden units.
Even as we are setting up this kind of technologies for anyone who is willing to come and learn, for them to come and see which technology they can adapt, we shall also be supporting vulnerable households with seeds and also shadiness for them to be able to set up this kind of production units within the confines of their home.
Depending on the amount of space available around your home, you have the choice of various techniques, and these could be either a multi-story garden unit, raised moist beds, staircase garden, or a star garden.
If you are living in maybe say a story, that means it is not your own compound, and maybe you lack space, enough space to do maybe crops or on the ground. So what we recommend that you can use what we call micro gardens. You can even use your dustbins, use your basins, you can use your pails, you can use even the 2-liter bottles. The idea here is that at least you can get some vegetables from your own source, even if you have to buy others, so that you improve your diversity. Thus will improve your nutrition security, and on the other hand also you are improving your food security.
While saving money may be one of the benefits to growing a vegetable garden, they are also a potential means to increase our confidence in food safety and security.
As Kenyans, the consumption of fruits and vegetables is very low, but Kenyans, we are known to consume more of the starchy foods, and those ones bring us all related diseases, non-communicable diseases, the issue of hypertension, the diabetes, obesity.
You can set up any of these types of kitchen gardens anywhere in your home, whether it's your rooftop, your balcony, or even the backyard of your kitchen. Remember, food is the first medicine.
If you are in Nairobi now, because you will buy soil and you will buy manure, and obviously you will buy the multi-story material that you want to use. That is either the net or the polythene paper. It will cost you like around because the net is around 1,000, and then the other materials, when you add them together, it can cost you around 5,000.
Research and consider ways to reduce your inputs. Annie Nyaga says that the demo farm is open to the public every Wednesday, where you can go and learn from the technicians in charge. She is also encouraging parents to involve their children to encourage them learn more about food production.
The ministry is keen in reviving the agricultural clubs in our schools, so that we can be very deliberate to introduce our children to production at a very early age, so that they can be able to just know where food comes from, the process of growing food. And this is an effort to become food secure when as they grow up, just getting them to learn how food production takes place, and why is food production important, and how they can be part of it.
Well, that is almost exactly what we are going to talk today with. We'll be having that conversation with Samuel. Samuel, we've also seen, maybe from that story, that the government is also taking an initiative. How important is urban farming, especially for people who live in places with small spaces?
Urban farming is an interesting and very exciting journey, I would say, farming, because as you would see, it doesn't require a lot of space, and you can use urban farming to grow each and every kind of plant, summer food you like for your own consumption. And it's nice to have a government initiative trying to drive a good agenda, because considering on how things are happening, global climate, people are encroaching on forest, trying to farm, trying to find modernization of farming. It also gives encouragements of us as youths to be interested in farming and grow with it. And considering urban farming, it doesn't require a lot of space. All you need is passion and just a bit of knowledge on it, on how to go about it.
Samuel, I know a lot of young people are watching us at this particular time, and maybe they're asking themselves, does Samuel has a background in agriculture, or was Samuel brought up in a village somewhere and maybe moved to the city, and now he's trying to implement what he learned in the village, but now there was no space, now you became creative. Tell us your journey to becoming an urban farmer.
Interesting is that I have no experience in farming. Yes, I was brought up in a small village, but there was scarcity of farming. So we usually planted our small vegetables outside, so we called it kitchen farming. For me, it was the biggest farm I would say. But it was the best meal you'd ever get in your food, because we found everything we needed outside in our compound. So I moved into Nairobi as I was doing my education, and as I was around here, I didn't feel comfortable trying to buy foods all around because they were a bit expensive. So I thought of myself, I saw my mom doing things, so why don't I do it? So that's how I thought I started doing farming, but I didn't know it was urban farming until to a moment where I came to realize, oh, this would give me some income. If I utilize this idea and think of more, entrench on more, and think of more how I can add it, it would bring me more income. So that's when I started researching and came to now understanding what urban farming is all about and started practicing on it.
Okay. I remember earlier, before we started this conversation, you told me about how you volunteered at the beginning. And that's how your interest was built. Maybe you can tell us that story a little bit, so that young people also know you don't have to always look for something that pays you, but you can get something that gives you knowledge. Yes.
Okay, I'm proud to be a scout. I've been a long scout member from childhood. And I would say I got my morals, my discipline, my responsibilities from scout. So I did so much of activities with scouting. So I remember how it came to be, scouting gets involved with other NGOs for organizations, let's say for, like in this moment we were doing climate change and climate and environmental degradation. It was about environments. So I started volunteering there. And that's when I came to be about sensitivity about land, sensitivity about climate change, sensitivity about deforestation, and how everything that we do really affects our nature. So that's how I started coming into interest with nature. And my journey started as how I came to be urban farming. I thought of myself, okay, for us, we don't have a big chunk of farm. What can I do, since I have a passion of farming, what can I do and use the same knowledge that I have to entrench on the little farming and modernize on it? Or let's do, how can I use a revolution on farming to bring more ideas, new ideas in farming?
Maybe tell us a little bit also about your journey to, was it Hong Kong? Yes, tell us a little bit about it.
It was an exchange program that we had. I got an opportunity. I thank God because it was a good opportunity I had. So we went to, I would say the first experience where I got interested, it was in Egypt. It was a nice venue, being in a country that I've never been and having a good history. But I remember it was a lunchtime meal, and this lunchtime meal, it was all vegetables. Considering me, I'm a Kenyan, seeing raw vegetables, the only thing raw vegetables I knew was mira. So, so finding a plate of table with nothing cooked but just vegetables really was a bit hell for me. But I had to, because it was a long period, I had to stay there for a month or so. So I tried it, and it started becoming interesting. So since I had friends from other countries, they started telling me this is something. That's how I started getting, oh, these are lettuce, okay, these are microgreens, okay, these are, so I started coming in touch with what I'm growing as of now there. Then from there, laterwards, I started becoming a freak of food. I love food. So I started becoming freak of food, but I love trying new foods. So on the new foods, that's when I started seeing there are some new foods where you can try, and I usually love home cooked food. But now, considering I am just from a village, the home cooked food we knew was mashakula. But now I needed to bring in some new taste in it. So that's how I started now researching on more and more, and that's how I came about microgreens and started to know the importance of microgreens in our foods as we eat, also as not only microgreens, because I usually deal with gourmet. So there are different kind of leaves that we eat, greens that we eat that are very nutritious to our body, but maybe we don't consider them as part of our meal in our tables, but they are very good in our meal.
Okay. Maybe someone will also be watching and wondering, when we talk about urban farming, how big or how small a space I should have? Maybe you should tell us a little bit about the size of space you have and how you grow your crops in that small space.
You don't need space. You only need just passion and create space. Because if I tell you you need space, you will first find the space, but sometimes you'll find that that space is not enough for what you want to do. So first you have to have an interest, then create space. Because even you can do it in your kitchen counter. You can grow vegetables in your kitchen counter. So that's how it doesn't need space. You can do it even in your own home. Like now where I do it, I usually just do it in my balcony. A small space that is 3 meters by 10 meters. And in that balcony, I can get food that is almost a third of a farm, 3/4 of a farm. What can be harvested in 3/4 of a farm? I can get it in my 3 by 10 meters space. So that's how you can utilize the little space you have and grow with it to the next level. And maybe this is the new norm. We need to know we need to turn away from the tradition of farming and try to modernize our ways and think of, because in real sense, farm space is scarce as of now. Farming is becoming tricky for a few people, especially young people. Young people love farming, but sometimes it will be challenging if you don't have space to do farming. But it also gives you now this where we encourage ourselves. Please learn on new ways you can utilize, and urban farming is the new way. Urban farming is the new way to bring in new ideas to farming in it.
Okay, Samuel, now you talked about the space that I can even use my kitchen counter to grow a few things and containers like that one, which I agree with you. And this one brings me to the last few months. You remember we had a lockdown, yes. And at the beginning, movement of goods and services were somehow disrupted, and things went up. The cost of almost everything started going up. Do you think if we had done urban farming enough, maybe we wouldn't have been able to pay the high cost of that we paid in terms of some of the food we bought?
Yes, I agree. I can speak by through experience. In this moment of COVID, I would say I never bought any kind of food. It's like I knew something would be coming. I had planted some few vegetables, and I really helped even my few neighbors that were around. And I encouraged them. I even taught them, a few of my neighbors, how to do kitchen farming. And I think if we had an idea, if people had the knowledge of how doing the minor, let's call it the kitchen farming, where you can just do it by your own small space that you can get, I do believe we would have counted about the cost of how COVID has hit each and every individual in Kenya, and maybe the cost of food, how it has risen. That would be a good idea. If we can adapt these new ways of farming and modernize on them and maybe use a revolution on farming and trust on new technologies in it, I think we can go so far even on the food part of security to secure our food security in our country.
Okay. I remember at the beginning when we were having just a conversation on the side. I remember a colleague of mine asked me, was asking you whether you can grow tomatoes on containers like that one. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what kind of other crops, apart from these microgreens that you're talking about, what other crops can we still grow in that small space?
You can grow any kind of crop as long as you have the minimal space you have or the space that you need. We can grow maize, we can grow potatoes, we can grow cabbages, we can grow any kind of vegetables that you like. We can grow even carrots, let's say, in those. As long as you have a good container, let's say for example, as you have said, tomatoes. Tomatoes, all you need is a container and a good seedling. When you plant on a good container, with a container that goes for around, we can just, let me use the normal ones, the kasuku one, where you can get a 3 kg kasuku of fat. That container, you can use it to grow tomatoes, and it will work so well. So you see how small it is? So how many containers can you have in a little space? You can have like 3 or 4. If the bigger the space you have, the more plants that you have. About tomatoes, let's say, for example, another example, potatoes. Maybe someone would ask out about potatoes. Potatoes, we can use even a sack, the gunia. We can use a sack, and we usually have different ways you can modernize the sack to make it comfortable, but a sack can also work for you. So if you have 3, 4, 5 sacks and you have just planted a few potatoes, a potato, as much as it grows, it produces more. So you'll never lack a meal for your family or for your table any other moment. But in your urban farming or in your small space, you can plant anything. On the maize part, maybe the challenge would be the space, because maize has to go up. So as long as you have a space upwards, the plant will grow.
Oh, okay. I think people may think because you're doing it on a small space, you cannot employ any technology. Tell us a little bit about the technologies we can apply when it comes to urban farming.
That's nice. Okay. In urban farming, what we have done in our part, I love technology. And I love researching on technology. And things are changing. We should just move on how things are changing. So I came to my idea. I thought, I want to do farming. Yes. I want to do urban farming. Yes. What can I do better to make this urban farming better? So I thought of, let's research on it. So I went on my books and did some few researches on how we can modernize our farm. So I found technology is one way that will make this agriculture to be to the next level. So that's how I came about to bring in more technology in it. And what I'm using as of now, I'm doing hydroponic. I've entailed hydroponic in my farming, because right now hydroponic means it's just growing plants without soil. It really helps to mitigate so many things. One, you conserve soil on water consumption, how it is. I use around 80% of the consumption of soil or water that you can use to ordinary farms. So we have added in technology of we use hydroponically. At the same time, we have brought in a new way of farming we call vertical farming in our farm, where we now not look downwards, we look upwards. Where in a farm you can grow an acre in a less minimal, let's say a 10 meter by 10 meter can grow a half an acre going upwards. So that's the new way we are bringing in new technology in our farm. So technology would be the new way, the new norm of agriculture as we speak as of now. Yes.
Samuel, I think we hold it right there. We'll take a short commercial break, and then we'll be back shortly.